It was the weekend, and I was coming in just to do a little more work. I love digitizing things, I love classifying things, and I love the lighting and structure of my new office. And as it got later, I thought to myself, well, why not just rest on the couch? I'll stay over. What could go wrong? Well, now I've found out. This is Jason Scott Talks His Way Out of It, a podcast about technology, history, and getting myself out of debt. Thanks to Jeff Atwood and the hundreds of other supporters on Patreon and elsewhere who have been supporting me and helping me get out of debt. As I speak in this contemporary time, I'm doing so from my current office, which I was very lucky to get, and which in many ways feels like the absolute peak of a place I want to work in. Using various colored lights, indirect lighting, and arranging many different shelves, this room feels, in many ways, like a perfect vault, a perfect home for all of my materials. Everything in here either came from me or I agreed to do something with it from others. It is, in its own living way, my to-do list. I have one section of the office where I have mementos, different collectibles, from books and movies that I've liked to wonderful things that fans and friends have sent me. It really warms me. When I come in and let myself in through the front door, it feels like a place waiting for me. The machines are humming, there's a background noise, and, as I said, colored indirect lights that give everything a wonderful glow. My friend Kyle told me about a couch that was available online for sale for about $300, and I jumped at the chance of it and got a pretty decent couch that normally would cost $800 or $900 for a fraction. I assembled it, and it makes the whole place look really complete. As one might say, it ties the room together. I've got my couch, my coffee table, things that I'm sorting, and then shelves of materials that I have to go through, equipment that I should evaluate or hold for later, and media beyond media that I'm processing, digitizing, scanning, or deciding it just needs to be stored as cleanly as possible because I'm not the one who's going to be doing anything with it. It is a beautiful equilibrium, and I've lived my life long enough to know it may not last. It may not stay this way for very long. Anything from the whim of a landlord to a sudden financial hit could change everything. Under no circumstance should I treat this like some new permanence that will last me the rest of my life. It is, at the moment, going to be a great year, and where it goes from there, I'm not sure. But I love it so much, and I made the decision to stay over. Now, since I was very young, I've had a real connection to the idea of spaces, of workspaces, play spaces, group clubhouses, these locations that friends work at with me, whether in some sort of co-working space or maybe just a really awesome building that we all have access to. It's a very compelling idea, one I would dream about in my teenage years and my 20s and then my 30s. I would find myself building these spaces whenever opportunity permitted. When I had a house, I built it in the basement. A basement mustiness and a sense of being cut off really prevented me from taking real advantage of this, and I ended up building an office, making a real office on the first floor of my house, which just felt better. I kept reimagining this space in different living situations until finally I rented a very small office until I found the heat and cramped aspects of it made me work less productively, and I was spending less of the day in there than I really should have. This new office, with its couch and its shelves of items and its personal streaming and working area, feels like some sort of checkpoint. And since the dream of any clubhouse is to have it be a place you can crash, I crashed. And I discovered multiple things about the space and myself. First of all, I'm old and should not sleep on a couch. I was sore and I was very woozy for some time to come. Next, my success in having a room with absolutely no windows, with no access to outside light, not even a real connection to clocks and time, meant that I almost immediately chronologically disconnected while in there. When I walk into this room, it feels like it's just early evening and I'm going to be partying all night. The problem is that it feels that way at 8 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, or at midnight. It always feels like it's just about to open up the dance floor. And it's not. There's an idea of multiphasic sleep where you go down for a few hours and wake up for others. It's supposed to make you more productive or in some way synchronize with how your brain prefers to be active, but it doesn't feel like that's for me. What almost immediately happens is I start to feel myself falling into goblin mode. Goblin mode, where you have a space that you rummage around in, you keep piles of things you finished eating or piles of completed tasks, and they build around you, and you're just moving forward through work you're doing, hunched over, typing on your keyboard, and feeling less and less energy from the lack of exercise and fresh air. Believe me, if I thought I could get away with no exercise and no fresh air, I would have done it some time ago. All it did was earn me high blood pressure, massive cholesterol, and, well, maybe a heart attack. So, after stumbling awake and doing a little bit more work, doing a few more things that I love doing, I realized that there was a deeper tiredness that was taking over. The kind of tiredness where you start making shortcuts. You start doing a task and then calling it done without checking your work, or going back and tabulating your progress and your efforts to make sure that little mistakes don't leak in, that you don't mismatch this item to that one. The kind of work that's the difference between feeling like you archived something with quality and just threw something online or into a box. I like to think I've moved away from that era. I did not know, however, that my dream of being a weird little hacker kid living on site with all of my machines and items is actually kind of gone. I need that separation. I need that walk, that drive that tells me I'm going from living to working, to fiddling with items to be digitized, or sitting down and watching some television, or crawling, as I prefer to do, each evening, putting on my sleep headphones, turning on some beautiful music or a long radio play, and going to a deep and honest sleep. I'm happy that at this time of my life I'm still discovering new things about myself, my limits, the way my emotions work, and the way that I wish to live and function if life will let me. I hope there's a few other discoveries waiting for me down the line. This is Jason Scott Talks His Way Out of It. Thanks to James Bekoyanu, Ernie Hershey, Michael Rubin, David Fisher, Dilip Reddy, Sean Kelly, Trixie the Cat, Joey Mink, Martin, Symbionts, Benjamin Guts, and Anonymous, along with the hundreds of other supporters on Patreon and elsewhere who have been supporting me and helping me get out of debt. I know I like this office because I'm afraid of losing it. It's nice to have something that you care about. Oh, sure, I would find other ways to work, other ways to do what I want to do. But it's nice when you care about what you have. There were times I took people and places for granted. I'm really trying not to do that anymore.